Let's move on to the next slide, Alfredo.
Yes, give me a second. Oh, here we go.
Okay, so these weekly live sessions are focused on the in-depth discussion on the module. All live sessions are recorded, as we stated, with a scrolling chat and posted automatically in the big blue button chat session. Obviously, you're here. You managed to get your ID and password and navigate to the big blue button. That's a great achievement. As we stated, it takes a while for us to convert the video. It's available on in this section. You can see it from there, but to see it from we have to convert it and then post it on YouTube, so that takes a little while. And again, we reserve roughly 15 minutes. In some cases, some presenters want to open up the questions throughout the session. Sometimes we're experimenting with more than one speaker for the session, so that could last more than 1 hour, could be an hour and a half. It all depends on the depth of the subject matter. And as I stated, please post your comments in the online survey. So I think everybody has that. Alfredo, can we all see I think I posted it earlier on. Let me just post it again to the bottom of the list. Okay, we can go on to the next slide. Okay, over to you, Alfredo.
Okay, so basically here you can see Glenn on the left and I'm on the right. On Glenn's picture, he has more hair than what he has right now. So don't be well, I'll leave it at that. So our agenda, we're going to talk a little bit about why we created this virtual School of Internet Governance, and of course the parties involved in the process and what are the features and benefits of this initiative. We are also going to talk about some of the outcomes we are expecting, and we're going to do some housekeeping, and we're going to actually give you a walk through the sites for those especially that haven't started yet on how to navigate the course. So having said that, Glenn, go ahead.
Okay, so the idea is back in the spring of last year, we started this process of creating the free, and I have to stress, free online training course. That's part of our central philosophy, and it was a result because we started and formulated to the North American School of Internet Governance, and we decided that it's not going to happen, and we were planning it in the fall in Washington, and we have also it planned in Seattle the year after, and then back to San Juan again. So it was a long-term plan of doing face-to-face training, and it takes about a year to fundraise enough money for air flights and hotels and all that stuff. So we started looking at it and we said, why don't we create a virtual online training program? And that's what we did. And it had to be neutral in terms of internet speeds and platforms. So when we looked at the model, and you're going to see it in a minute, how we chose the platform that we did. But besides the free online training platform, we wanted to make sure that it had a interactive experience, i.e. this session today, as well as, most important, is the live discussions and discussions by all of you as participants and ourselves and seeding things, sharing resources. That was a very central part of what our philosophy was. We also encourage continual, constant improvement of the course. If material is missing, we suggest please provide any suggestion, and that's also including any speakers that you can suggest for the course as well. And I have to stress this is not to replace the face-to-face school. We've run face-to-face schools. We've participated with face-to-face schools, whether the Southern School with Olga or with Amrita and Satish and others in India. So we know the value of a face-to-face school, and this is not intended to replace that, but in many ways it gives to people who actually participate, like so many of our good friends from the Ghana School. Many of those folks joined us and were part of our course prior to doing their face-to-face school. And it's also a really good source of level entry or entry level education for the IG professional. So if you're new to this, or you're an old hat and you just want to be brushed up, or you're with one of the organizations, whether ICANN, Diplo, ICANN, ISOC, whatever, we are providing a different approach to the same thing that all those organizations are doing. It's a slightly different way to approach it. Not to knock down or criticize those, they're just different approaches. So we hope we are a complement to what they're doing as well. Next slide.
Yeah, sure. Before we do that, Glenn, I would like to emphasize that this is a really an entry-level education for all of the IG individuals interested to learn more about internet governance. And if you have already participated in the introduction discussion thread, you'll see that there's a variety of professionals that have a great background in internet governance, and we're going to lean on some of them to help us out during the live sessions and the discussions as well. Back to you, Glenn.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so you've already met Alfredo virtually and myself. We also have an advisory council, which is Bill Joris, Eduardo Diaz, Dr. Pablo Rodriguez, Rita Choldry, Dr. Olivier Crepin-LeBlanc. So what we do is we meet them with them on a regular basis to get feedback on the course. Now, if I go back to the spring, when we started creating this, we actually had 18 beta testers evaluate our course. And I have to do a shout out to Eduardo and Bill Joris. They were excellent and really tearing apart the content and making sure that it flowed in terms of, especially in the sections of infrastructure and history. And so their critical comments were very well valued. And so we also have, besides the guest speakers, which we have 36 for these 4 cohorts, and we're also building a larger list. And most important is yourselves. The participants are a critical piece in this. So what we have with VSIG is, this is called a MOOC. It's a massive open online courseware MOOC, and the tool that we're using is Australian, and it's they have different licenses depending on how many those are involved, but it's a cloud-based online training platform, and it's multilingual, and it's very media rich in terms of its capability. And the other thing, as I said earlier on, it's neutral in terms of the platform. So we have tested it on regardless what the platform is, but it's also mobile friendly. So some of you may be accessing this course on mobile, maybe on a Chromebook, maybe on Mac. It's not only mobile friendly, it's agnostic in terms of the platform. So the value of, and again, this is what we can recommend to any of you who are thinking of creating a course for your own program that you're doing. It's a complete management system. So we can drill down on intelligence, which we do not share, on students, teachers, and for the sake of administration. We have the capability for offline learning as well. So if you go in, most of the material that we discover, which is whether research papers or in case of slideshows, we try to convert those all to ebooks using a tool called Flip HTML. And I posted in the earlier on one of the sites of our bookshelves, so you can download any of those ebooks and watch them at your own leisure. We also have, as we stated, the live chats, the discussion forums, as you've seen in your introduction, fantastic backgrounds on people who've elected to share their information and background. And again, we try to encourage people to meet each other, to share information about what they are doing, and with good luck, perhaps you'll find some other people that you'd like to share a paper on, or maybe, especially if any of you are looking at being on IGF or some other forum. And I can tell you from experience, it's very important to have a range of people on your presentations or your panels with the IGF. So perhaps you'll meet some people here that you would have not met otherwise. In our last panel that we did on distance education, we had, correct me if I'm wrong, Alfredo, I think we had 3 people from Brazil on our panel.
Yes, that's right.
And myself and yourself, and it was excellent, except the fact that the time zones from where we are to Poland was a little tough. The one we did on a DC Coalition for Schools of Internet Governance was 3 in the morning, so that was a bit on a tough side. Okay, quizzes. The quizzes are, and you'll see in a second, they're, if you want a certificate, it's mandatory to get 80% on the quizzes, but you can do them. It's a memory aid. You know, if you've done these type of online courses on Coursera or whether with the GSMA or other groups, you do them, and you know it's a memory aid, so you can go back. You have as many chances as you want in order to guess what the right answer is, and so by default you learn the material. So there's a lot of latitude in the design of the quizzes. And lastly, as I said, we automatically issue you a certificate of completion. Next slide, please. So this is what the certificate looks like, not with a blank name, but hopefully your name. Next slide. Okay, so over to you, Alfredo.
Sure. I just want to emphasize that the certificate will have your name, and those of you that have a really long name, you might want to revise that, and I'll show you where you can do that because it might not fit in the field where your name goes. And also you'll see that it'll have the date on which you completed the course, and it'll have on the lower right corner any identifier in case in the future somebody wants to make reference to verify that you actually completed the course. We'll be able to do that as well. So having said that, in this slide you see 3 screenshots of how the course looks on a mobile device. Remember that I mentioned, or Glenn mentioned, that you'll be able to do it on your tablet, on your smartphone as well. So all you have to do is download the Moodle app, which is free, and I'll show you where you can download it, or you can just Google it, the Moodle app, and you can download it and access all the content on your device. And you can also work with it offline and then synchronize back when you have internet access to update the information. So on the left you can see part of the intro. In the middle you can see part of the history of internet governance and some of the structure we have. And on the right you can see the way we have organized the material, which most of you have already have a looked at, and we'll see that when we do the live walkthrough in a few minutes. This is how you see it on a tablet. As you can see, the real estate is bigger, so you'll be able to see basically all the information, and on the left you have sort of a dashboard, and you can click on each one of them and see the features that each one has, and you can actually chat or exchange messages, look at the calendar of events and so forth. On this slide, you can see on the left side, there's a screenshot of how the content is organized within each one of the books. We call book the content itself, and it's arranged sort of in chapters, and each chapter may have some sections, as you can see on the left. And on the right, you can also see how it looks when you look at it through a tablet, which has, as I mentioned, a larger screen. So you'll be able to focus on the content and some of the actual material at the same time. On the next slide, here you can also have an idea of how the content of a question looks like. As Glenn mentioned, you have to achieve 80% on each one of the quizzes in order to get the certificate of completion at the end. On the right side, you can see exactly how the question looks on your tablet if you're using a tablet. It's sort of the same display. Here is a closer view of a question, and you can actually see each one of the alternatives. And in this case, it's sort of a matching question that you'll see in one of the sections. So let's, Glenn, talk about the benefits.
Thanks. I just had to unmute. When I'm typing, I think you can hear me typing, so I'm trying to welcome everybody. And thanks to everybody that has come. And I noticed that Bill Joris is online as well. As I mentioned, Bill is based in California. Yeah, he had an early start today, and he's one of the sessions that you can look back and some of the recordings. He's been a volunteer with the IDNs and with ICANN. So if you're interested in that issue on a universal acceptance, issues of the internet and non-English internet, he's the one to chat to as well. Okay, let's move on. So we are trying to provide you with an educational roadmap for internet governance, and you know it's a let me put it this way. You can have a map to get to somewhere from your home to say your vacation spot, but there's many ways to get there, and many of you may have a particular interest in, say, the legal aspects or the economic aspects or the human rights aspects, internet governance, and some of that other side roads or those other stops along the way are really not a big interest for you, and we appreciate that. We understand that, and we can only say that you know, take some time, look at the material. We don't expect you to read it all. We don't expect you to watch every video. It is basically a platform that we are trying to share the information so that you can take it as you need it. So if as like a car trip, you know, you need food and you need gas and you need you know, the material to make your journey successful. It's the same thing as this. So we clearly want to assist you in providing as much as possible, and so that you find what area that you're really interested in and top up your information. In many cases, we've had people who are lawyers and saying it's not enough, or their material that's legal aspects is elsewhere within the course. And we're going to have that. We're going to have a differences of opinion in terms of how much should we add to this, and it's limitless in our opinion. But what we wanted to do is provide you with the benefits to work at it at your own pace, and it's not, you know, we don't force anyone to come to these calls on Monday. You can listen to them at your leisure. You can spend the time that you would like in the discussion threads, but what you put into it is what you get out. That's fundamentally our philosophy.
And having said that, keep in mind that basically everything is either downloadable, as Glenn mentioned, the ebooks, you can download them and read them at your leisure. There's some videos where we have the links, so you can also have them in your own list of videos to watch. And there's a lot of links that we point you to the actual resource. It could be an organization, it could be a working group. There's a lot of information there. So it's really, as Glenn mentions, up to you what you want to look at, what you want to read in the next 11 weeks, what you want to have as a personal resource that you can use later on. So let's go on to the next slide. So on this slide, I'm going to talk to you a little bit of some housekeeping, but we're actually going to see it in a live walkthrough. Some of you have not updated your profile. Now, this is what we need you to do. When you get into your account, on the top right side, you'll see there's a sort of a tick next to a place where you can place your image. Click on that. A menu will appear. So you're going to look for the profile and click on that. And that will take you to the next screen you see on the right. On the right, you see that for your student, in this case, student demo, but for you, there's a section where you can edit your profile. And that will allow us to get some more information that you might want to share. So on this next screen, you'll see that once you click on the edit profile, you're going to go to the general section. And on the general section, there's something that's very important that each one of you have to do. You have to click in your city or your town, and you also have to select your country. Like, for example, in my case, it's San Juan, and my country is Puerto Rico. If you're from India, please select your city, select your country, and update your time zone. This updating of your time zone will allow you to see in your actual time when the events are going to take place. So that's very important that each one of you do, because, for example, if I say that next week we're going to have a session at 9 a.m. Eastern time, you'll be able to see it reflected in your actual time zone. So you'll be able to participate without any confusion. So please do that as soon as we finish this session, and share the word with all the other classmates. You can also add your picture. So if you want to add your picture, all you have to do is under the edit profile, go down to the user's picture, and you can look for it in your computer, and you'll be able to upload it with the corresponding image that you would like to use. Those have seen mine have seen that I have my picture. So on this screen, you can actually see something important. Some of you have been asking, well, where do I look for the participant guidebook and place the check mark? Here you have it. You see the participant guidebook. You click on it if you want to open it. And on the right side, there's a box where you have to click on it in order to place the check mark. Once you do that, you'll be able to continue as usual, looking through the content and answering the quizzes. And if you get the 80% at the end, you'll get the certificate. And I'll show you where that certificate will appear. Although you're also going to get an email if we have your correct email address. You'll get a copy of the certificate. So moving on, this is an example of the discussion threads that most of you have already started participating. This is a screenshot from one that we did. We started last on the first cohort, actually. But most of you already are familiar with this. All you have to do is go into join the conversation. If you want to add a different topic, just click on add a different topic and start the discussion. If you want to join one discussion in particular, just click on the discussion title and you'll be able to add your comments to that conversation as well. If you look at the live sessions, you'll see always this symbol, this big B, which means big blue button. If you click on it, it'll take you where you are right now after you do the setup for the audio or the video in each one of the live sessions. On the next screen, again, and I'm going to keep on emphasizing this, it's important that you click on the right side on the box where you put the check mark for the participant guidebook. If you do all the quizzes, if you get 80%, you're not going to see the certificate unless you check mark this box as well. So keep that in mind, and I'll try to remind you as we move forward and towards the end of this cohort of participants. Glenn?
Yeah, I need to emphasize that as this famous quote, it's attributed to Abraham Lincoln, but actually it's written by another chap, but it's usually attributed to Abraham Lincoln. You can please some of the people all of the time, and all of the people some of the time, but you cannot please all of the people all of the time. So we're going to have some things that some people think is great. Some people say it stinks, but we are trying our best to be able to produce a product that really is going to, we hope, please most of the people. But again, we realize that this is an evolution. It's we don't have all the answers made. It will take some time to get it right. But I think we're playing a critical role given COVID-19. So we appreciate your patience with us. And if you like the course, the biggest contribution to us is providing a testimonial, a blog post, and tell your friends. And the idea is we want to build community. Thank you. So this is where you find out more information. We try to post on a regular basis on our website, thevirtualsig.org. For example, Group E registration is already open. That's in September. And there are some slight variances on the new course that will be coming up in the fall. We have the online platform, as you all know, what the link is. The FAQs, we try to update that on a regular basis on the website. We have a Facebook site, Facebook/virtualsig. And you can get hold of me at info@virtualsig.org and also at registration@virtualsig.org.
Some of you have already contacted me and Glenn because you have some issues accessing the course, and we try to resolve them in a timely manner. So please reach out to us if you have any questions regarding the platform and your login, and please share this again with your classmates as well.
Before you go to the live update, I see Susan has asked a question. She asked, Alfredo, maybe you can answer this. On the Moodle app, what details does one fill in? I tried an INTGOV 003, but not successful. So can you address that issue?
Sure, Susan, and thank you for the question, and to benefit everybody, all you have to do is, first of all, you have to, in the site, there's a site section where you have to write the URL of the platform, which is internetgovernance.moodle.school. That's the site that you have to log in. Then it asks you for, if I recall correctly, your username, and then you give it your username or your password, one of those. But the first thing, it's not the name of the course, it is the platform, internetgovernance.moodle.school, and then it'll ask you for some more information, which I believe is your user and password. That should work. If it doesn't work, Susan, or anybody else has any issues with that, send me a message and I'll resolve it with you offline. Okay?
Okay, so we're going to do a live walkthrough.
Yes. Hope everybody can see this screen. Everybody sees this? Len?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So this is what I actually see as a administrator, and Glenn as well. But in your case, you're only going to see the one that says Internet Governance with the banner. And this is the actual site for your course. For those that have been asking about the Moodle app, if you notice on top, on the right side, next to the VSIG acronym, you'll see that it says Moodle app, and there you can actually download the Moodle app if you want to for your device, or there's a client that you can download for your desktop as well. So on the left side, you see that there's a dashboard, and we'll look at that in a moment. But on the right side, you recall that I mentioned that there's a tick that you click on in order to access your profile. So you click on it, and you'll actually see here, you see your profile, and you'll be able to add something regarding your background if you want to, a short bio as well. And if you keep moving downwards, you'll see the area where you do the edit profile that I mentioned. Keep in mind that if you click on it, you will be only able to, if you want to change your name because it's too long, your first name or your last name, please do it, because as I told you, on the certificate, it might truncate your name when it prints out your certificate. Your email, please make sure that it's the correct one. This is important for everybody. And the important part is, as I mentioned, if you go to the city, town, country, city, town, please write in your city or your town, select your country, and there's a drop down list where you can look up basically most of the countries according to the UN list. And the time zone is important. So you just click on it and you select your time zone. And that will automatically reflect everything in your actual time zone. And, and you'll be up to date on that. Then, if you keep moving downwards, you'll be able to update your photo. Just look for it. If it's on your desktop or on your computer, you can click and drag it, and you can also identify with a picture description. Why is it important that you fill out the picture description? Because we may have people that have some difficulty understanding or reading the text, and if they have if they're visually impaired and they have a text reader, they'll be able to read the text behind the images. And remember to update that profile in order to have it up to date in that section. Now, going back to the dashboard, on the top left, you'll see there's a button there that has three lines on it. If you click on it, it will collapse the dashboard. If you click on it again, it will expand the dashboard. In my case, my dashboard has additional content which yours won't have. But if I click on dashboard, it will take me back to all the courses that I'm taking. And I'm showing this to you particularly because you'll see on the right side that I have a block that shows all the people that are online at a particular time during the course. So if you're online and you want to chat with somebody else, you just click on his name and you'll be able to chat individually with that person. So if, for example, I pick on Kathy Bogart, I click on her name, I'll be able to chat with her individually and won't bother anybody else in the course. So let me go back.
Alfredo, can you hold there for a second? And it associates with the question that Jem is asking. You see Frederick's name, how long it is? She's
Yeah.
asking how many characters, what's the character limit? Like, obviously, Frederick's full name is not going to be allowed in the certificate, it's going to be cut off. So, what is the limit in terms of the characters?
Well, I haven't tried that, so I really don't know. I'm just saying that because that might happen, and we won't know until somebody completes the course and it comes out. It might fit, but it might not. I really don't know. So I'm sorry if that doesn't answer your question, but I really don't know. Can I move on, Glenn?
Yeah, please go.
Okay, sure. So if we click on, we're on the course on Internet Governance 003, which is the cohort we're dealing with. If we start moving down, you'll see that we have some introductory information for all of you. We have the address to contact Glenn, and as part of our initiative, we mentioned at the beginning that we want to keep this free. But in order to do that, we need to raise some funds. And we have a GoFundMe for VSIG donations enabled here. So those that feel that the course has been fruitful, that you learned something that's worth a while, and you want to help us maintain this, you can help us out with that. Something else that we're doing, we're raising funds through sponsorships through different organizations. So if you believe that this is worthwhile and you know key people that we can talk to about this and see if they want to get involved, reach out to info@virtualsig.org for that. And Glenn will be able to give you and them more information regarding that. If we keep moving down, you'll see that there's an announcement section. And as Glenn mentioned, in this announcement section, we try to post topics that are important to all of the participants. And you can see that Glenn and I have tried, and Mihaela as well has shared with us some important information regarding different events or resources that we feel should be shared with all of you. And we try to do that in the announcement section so you can all see that. If we keep moving down, we have the participant guidebook, and that will open up as a PDF in another window, and you'll be able to download it and go through it. Something that's important within the guidebook is the code of conduct. So read it and make sure that you agree with it. Just as a highlight, we don't share information that you give us. We only use it for our internal purposes. So you can be assured that nothing is going to be shared with third party. The other thing is that we try to describe in the guidebook the meaning of all the icons you'll find throughout the course. So read it, and if you have any questions, let us know. And if you notice on the right side, there's the check mark that you have to have in place in order to get your certificate if you're seeking the certificate and you complete all the quizzes with 80% or more. So we've been getting to know each one of you through the discussion thread. And if you click on it, you'll see that, let's see if I can get there. Okay, here we go. That everybody is engaged, presenting themselves and sharing some information with other colleagues. And it's impressive to see such a vast variety of professional backgrounds included in this discussion thread. So welcome to all of you, and the list keeps on, getting longer. We have 120 individuals participating in this cohort. So welcome again, and keep on, sharing your information. If you see below the Internet Governance /Group C name, you'll see that there's a breadcrumb. So if you're getting to know the participants and you want to go back to the introduction, you can just click here, or you can go to the dashboard on the left side and click on there. So I'm going to do it clicking on the breadcrumb, and here we go. We're back to the introduction section. Everybody who's here knows all about the big blue button section, how to log in. But since we're recording this, for those that aren't familiar with this yet, all you have to do is read the information that describes the session we're going to have, the time, and there's a tool here that you can use as a time and date corroboration with your time zone. But remember, if you do what I told you to do in your profile, you won't have any problems because you'll see the correct day and time for your session. So if I click on important introduction session, it'll actually take you to the features that you need to be aware of. Once the session is supposed to be open for you to start logging in, you'll see that there's a join the session button. I'm not going to end the session right now. It tells you how many viewers are in the session and how many moderators. Glenn and I are the moderators. So unless we are in the session, you won't see the join the session button. So make sure that you see that checking the time zone, and you will also be aware if the moderator is already on board by the join session button. You'll see that there's a section here that says recordings. So this recording will appear here in a list about an hour and a half if the service is working correctly after we finish the session. It might take a little bit longer because Big Blue Button is taken care of by a third party. Uh,
Let me jump in on that. Big Blue Button, we're using that because it's bundled together with the MOOC, with Moodle. Probably some people are asking, why aren't we using Zoom? This is the, in some cases, when we do our graduation ceremony, we'll be using Zoom for that. But in this case, we stay within the platform. It adds a little extra work, but I think all of you who joined today didn't have a problem getting into it. Back to you, Alfredo.
Yeah, thank you. So having said that, this is what we call the introduction section or module. If we go into the history of internet governance as an example, here you'll see a short description of what you can expect. And something that we try to do, since we're going to talk about so many topics within the internet governance, and we're going to use so many acronyms, we thought that we should gather together those sources where you can find the definitions or the explanation of those acronyms. So that's why you'll see that we have the ICANN acronyms and terms link here, and this will take you, actually it'll take you to the website where ICANN has its acronyms. And one of the features we liked a lot is that you'll be able to read them in different languages. Besides English, we have Spanish, French, and Chinese or Mandarin. So we have six international languages that you can go through and look at those acronyms or definitions. And we thought this was a better way to keep it updated if somebody else does it for us. And I think Glenn won't disagree on that. We also have the Internet Governance Acronyms Glossary. You can also click on that one. That's compiled by Diplo Foundation. And although it's dated from 2019, they try to keep it also updated. And if we notice that they have a newer version or they do some updates, we'll link you to that as well. And we also have from the SMA, we have their dictionary because that's an organization that deals a lot with telecommunications, and they offer a lot of courses that Glenn and I have taken, and we thought that that would increase the value, especially when we talk about technical terms. Moving on to the structure, you'll see that we have objectives, and this actually clicks on, if you click on it, it'll give you a short description of what we are expecting from you in each one of the modules. We have some specific objectives that are easy to meet. You'll just have to read through the content to meet those and be able to answer the questions in most of the quizzes. As a matter of fact, I think there's one of your classmates that already did all the quizzes. And that's interesting because that gives me the impression that he is knowledgeable about internet governance, and he actually went through the quizzes without having to read most of the material because he knows most of it already. So here you can also find, as part of the objectives, you'll find the ebooks that Glenn mentioned as well, using Flip HTML5. And on the lower side of each one of these ebooks, you see the tools you'll need to share that information. You can download it. You can read them if you want to in full screen, and you can go back and so forth. So it's a nice tool, and Glenn has a lot of bookshelves regarding most of the topics. So here we have an issue. It says that Firefox can open this page. If this actually happens, it's because Firefox is increasing its security using the DOH or some of those other technologies. So you'll have to try it out with Google website browser instead of Firefox, and that could happen. But for example, it still says here open site in a new window. That means that you can probably open it up as a separate window. And I'll look into that and see if we can fix it so that you'll be able to open it up within Firefox. Uh, then after the objectives, if we go back to the history of the of internet governance, you'll see that here you have the actual content under the book icon. If you click on it, you'll see the table of content on the right. I'm going to get rid for a second of the dashboard or the navigation on the left, so you'll have more screen real estate here to see the content. We're actually in the introduction section right now. We state how long the videos are if you want to watch them. We have here an interesting presentation. It's 1.5 hour, approximately 1.5 hour long.
Sorry, Alfredo. I'm maybe your screen is freezing, but I'm still seeing the flip book on the introduction to the slides we had. I'm not sure if you're showing something else. I am not seeing what you're talking about.
Okay, so let me stop sharing and share again and see if that resolves that issue.
While you're doing that, I posted folks in the chat an example of a bookshelf that Alfredo talked about. It's the Global Spectrum Management Association. They have a lot of free courses, but you have to apply to get into the course. So what I've done is collected their PDFs and converted them into ebooks. And so you'll see an example of the one set of books on Spectrum. So back to you.
We're seeing the screen now?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Oh, okay, great. So I was mentioning that this is the actual table of content of the history of internet governance, and you can navigate through each one of the chapters, and some chapters, as you can see, has different sections. The videos, there's a short description, how long they are. You can see some of the flip books that the ebooks that Glenn is mentioning. Now, I also want to highlight that at the end of each one of the areas, we have some tags, and this might be important to you. There are some concepts that we cover in more than one module. Like, for example, I'm just going to take history as an example. So if I click on history, it'll show me where history is being used, but that's not actually the most important thing. The most important thing is that on top here, on this breadcrumb, you'll see that there's a tags highlighted. And if you click on that, it'll show you all the tags we are using, well, at least the first 150 tags that we're using. And those that are familiar with word clouds will see that the bigger the term or the phrase, that means that we're using it in more than one content area or module. So if you want to learn more about ICANN, for example, and you click on that, it'll display all the modules where we're actually talking about ICANN. So if that's of interest to you, you can go to the organizations which manage internet network protocols and standards, or you can go to the multi-stakeholder model, which are, even though they might be within the same module, they're in different sections. So this will give you a sense of, for example, if I click on multi-stakeholder model, that's part of the history of internet governance, but that is actually something that we discuss under chapter 10 as a section 10.2 within the history of internet governance. So we're trying to be as thorough as we can with the tags and with the content. Each module has a join the discussion where if you already participated in the introducing yourself, it's similar to that, and I'm not going to repeat myself. We have the quizzes. The quizzes, as we've mentioned, you can take them as many times as you wish. This one, for example, I've taken 10 times, and that's just to show you how this works. And it also gives you the date by when you have to complete all the quizzes if you want to meet the deadline for this cohort of participants. Complementary resources. This is an important section, and we've done this because we know that we don't want to burden you reading a lot of material, but we complement what we have in the main sections of the course with some additional resources. And you'll see here that we have, for example, a presentation that Olivier Lebron did in the North American School of Internet Governance in Montreal in 2019 for us. You'll see a video that covers the history of ARPANET, and with one of the original participants in that project. And as we move down, you'll see that there's other resources that you can actually visit and learn more about. And actually remember that next week we're going to have one of the fathers of the internet, Vince Cerf, participating with us. So this is something that we've been aggregating, collecting for you as well. So if you find some resources that you feel that we should add as a complementary resource, we can do that. Let's see what else. Oh, we have the chat space. As I mentioned, if you come into the course and you see there's somebody else online and you want to start a chat with that person, you just click on chat and you'll be able to enter the chat now and start a conversation with that person. Like, for example, if I write hello and there's somebody that I want to address that to, I should be able to do that as part of the one-to-one conversation without bothering anybody else within the course. Going back to the history of internet governance, and I'm almost through that. You also see that we have the history of internet governance in this case, and we have set up the information regarding that. And that goes on and on for each one of the different sections that we have. Glenn, back to you.
Okay, thank you. I have to emphasize the complementary resources is a monster project, and part of me is thinking how do we organize it so it's an offline resource as well. We've gone through a lot of different locations. When you get into the security section, that is a massive amount of resources there as well. Some areas, some sections need more resources, and some not so much. So feel free to take any resource you want. And we do have a form that we ask people for suggestions, whether it's a blogger, a PDF, a research paper, or a potential speaker. So feel free to let us know. And again, we really try to emphasize that this is not an ICANN course. So we do have some ICANN people occasionally as a speaker, but this is not an ICANN course. We do have ISOC speakers, but it's not an ISOC course. So we try to have as much diversity as possible and gender balance as possible. And so you'll see it in our selection, but it's we are somewhat limited in terms of the time. There is some speakers from Australia we really wanted to have with this section on legal, but unfortunately the person, it just would be 2 o'clock in the morning, so it was not doable. But in some cases, people accommodate us, like I mentioned, Bill, a little earlier. So, okay, so we can go on to, as I stated, the all the slides are available and converted into ebooks. And if you have any speaker feedback, we've given you the form. So I think we can move on. We have a few minutes left. Okay, so I'm just going to walk through quickly on what's coming up. Okay, so you heard myself and Alfredo. Next slide. I'm almost embarrassed to mention this individual. If you haven't known about Vince Cerf, you definitely, he's the chief evangelist at Google. He'll be talking about the history, and again, we want to sort of probe his knowledge and perspective on the future of the internet as well. So feel free to ask some questions. So let's, that'll be next Monday. Next, it'll be Nick Smith, and I think Keith Dravik will be joining him as well. They're both from VSIG. So that'll be the section on actors. Next slide. Dr. Pablo Rodriguez from .PR. That's the .PR is the Puerto Rican country code, and Allison Moore of Sierra, which is .ca. Both of them will be sharing the section on discussing on infrastructure. Next slide. Okay, Jane Coffin, VP at ISOC. She'll be talking about community networking and bringing in the recent strategy that ISOC has in terms of their action plan 2021. And we'll be talking about some of the projects that they did as well. After that, Brian Jabolik, who is the guest speaker he's the lawyer, legal counsel, VP at Public Interest Registry. He'll be talking about domain abuse. As I mentioned earlier, Damon Ashcroft will talk about intellectual property issues with the domain industry. He is based in Arizona. He was the chair for the NOMCOM, and he was with the IPC community within ICANN. Dr. Luca Belli is from Brazil. He'll be, and in fact, I think some of the postings have been done in the announcements already on some of his lectures. He's also with the DC Coalition with IGF. Next slide. Human rights. Mohammed Bashir is a longtime community member from Sudan. He'll be talking about universal acceptance and a non-English internet. So he'll be speaking on human rights. And lastly is Chana Chair. She's based in South Africa. She's done a fantastic paper. She's an actual Mozilla Fellow on a feminist internet and data. So she'll be our last session for our live sessions. So I think it's almost time is up, and I'm just looking. Kathy, I think she's probably corrected my spelling on her name. Thank you, Kathy. I'll double check that, making sure I don't make that error. Not unusual for me to make an error once in a while. I'm only human, but thank you for pointing that out.